By the spring of 1945, everyone knew the war was ending. You could feel it in the way the fighting changed. It wasn't about victory anymore.
It was about survival. Germany was collapsing, cities reduced to broken stone, smoke hanging in the air, soldiers moving like ghosts through what used to be streets. That's when I shot him. It was April 1945, outside Cologne. The trees were just beginning to turn green again, like the world was trying to heal while we were still tearing it apart. My name is Daniel. I'm 97 years old. For most of my life, I told myself that what happened that afternoon was unavoidable, that it was war, that I did what I was trained to do. But the older I get, the harder that explanation feels. We were moving through a stretch of thin woodland near a ruined farmhouse. Intelligence reports said scattered resistance units were still active. Volkssturm, desperate men pulled from whatever was left. No one said anything about boys. I was 20 years old, exhausted, numb in a way that only comes after months of fear. By then, you didn't analyze movement, you reacted to it. I saw something shift near the tree line. A figure stepped out from behind a broken wooden fence. He wore a uniform. It hung off him awkwardly, the sleeves too long, the helmet tilted forward like it didn't quite belong to him. He lifted a rifle. Or I thought he did. I didn't shout. I didn't warn him. I fired. The shot echoed through the trees. Birds scattered. The figure dropped into the damp grass without a sound. For a moment, I felt relief, that cold, mechanical relief that tells you you're still alive. We approached carefully. Up close, something felt wrong. He looked small. When I knelt down and turned him over, his helmet rolled away. He couldn't have been older than 16, maybe younger. His face wasn't hardened, it wasn't filled with hate. It looked startled, like he hadn't expected the world to end in that patch of grass. On his sleeve was a crude Volkssturm armband stitched onto civilian fabric. The uniform wasn't even properly fitted. His rifle lay beside him. It wasn't loaded. The chamber was empty. He had lifted it the wrong way. For 77 years, I told myself that none of that mattered. He wore a uniform. He stepped out first. That's what war does. But every spring, when the air turns mild again, I see that moment clearly. Not an enemy. A boy standing in the final days of a collapsing country. And me, too afraid to wait 1 second longer. We stood there for a few seconds, none of us speaking. One of the men with me muttered something about clearing the area. Another kept scanning the trees as if someone else might step out. The war didn't stop just because one life had. But I couldn't move. I kept looking at his hands. They were small, not like the hands of the men we had been fighting for months. His fingers were thin, almost delicate, still curled stiffly around the rifle he never fired. I told myself again that he wore a uniform, that he chose a side, that I didn't have time to hesitate. Then I noticed something in his coat pocket. It wasn't standard issue. It was folded paper, worn at the edges. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Inside was a small photograph, black and white, creased down the middle. It was a picture of a woman and 2 younger children standing in front of a house. The woman had her hand on the boy's shoulder. She was smiling, the kind of smile that only exists when you believe your child will come home. On the back of the photo, in careful handwriting, were a few words in German. I didn't understand all of it then, but I knew enough. Come back to us. That's what it meant. Come back. He wasn't charging at us. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't even aiming properly. He was standing there, probably more afraid than I was. And I ended him before he could lower that rifle. One of the men told me to drop the photo and move. We had to keep pushing forward. Orders were orders. There were still pockets of resistance nearby. So I put the photograph back into his coat. I don't know why I did that. Maybe I thought it belonged with him. Maybe I didn't want to carry it.
left him there in the grass. The war ended a few weeks later. People celebrated in the streets, flags, music, relief. But every time I heard someone say the word victory, I saw a 16-year-old boy lying in spring grass with a photograph pressed against his chest. For years, I convinced myself he would have killed someone else if I hadn't pulled the trigger. That thought made it easier to sleep. But as I grew older, that certainty faded. What stayed was the image of that handwriting, come back to us, and the knowledge that he never would.
I came home in the fall of 1945. There were parades, handshakes, neighbors who said I looked like a hero. My mother cried when she saw me step off the train. My father shook my hand like I had done something remarkable. I learned quickly how to smile when people said, "You must be proud." Proud wasn't the word I felt. I married a year later. We built a quiet life in Ohio. A small house, a steady job, Sunday dinners, ordinary things that are supposed to make you feel safe. For a while, they did. Then my son turned 16. I remember the exact moment it hit me. He was standing in the kitchen doorway arguing with his sister about something trivial. His voice was changing, still caught between boy and man. And I froze. He was the same height, the same narrow shoulders, the same uncertain way of holding himself. I saw the woods outside Cologne instead of my own kitchen. I had to step outside to breathe. From that day forward, every milestone in my son's life felt like a reminder. When he learned to shave, when he got his first job, when he talked about joining the service himself. I never told him what I was thinking. How could I? How do you look at your child and admit that you once ended someone else's? I told myself it was different, that my son had choices, that the boy in Germany had been raised in a different world. But the older my son got, the younger that boy in the grass seemed. In my memories, he stopped aging. He stayed 16. My son kept growing. There were nights I would wake up and walk into my son's room just to watch him sleep, just to confirm he was still there, that he was breathing, that he was alive. And every time I would think about the photograph folded in that coat pocket, come back to us. I wondered if that woman never found out where her son fell, if she waited by a window long after the war ended, if she held on to hope the way mothers do, even when the world gives them no reason to. I never told my wife about that part. I never told my son. Instead, I became quieter every spring, and when April came around, I always found a reason to be alone. Because somewhere in Germany, in a patch of grass that probably doesn't even remember his name, a boy stopped being someone's son, and I was the reason. I'm 97 years old now. My son is older than I was when I came home from the war. He has grandchildren of his own. When I look at them running across the yard, laughing, careless in the way only children can be, I sometimes feel something tighten in my chest. Not regret. Regret is too simple a word. What I feel is the weight of time. For decades, I convinced myself that what happened outside Cologne was just one moment in a much larger war. Millions died, cities vanished, entire families disappeared. Who was I to focus on one boy? That's how I kept it buried. But the older you get, the smaller your world becomes. The big events fade, the headlines disappear. What stays are the faces, and his face never left. I used to tell myself that he would have grown into a soldier like the rest of us, that maybe he believed in something, that maybe he would have fired first if given the chance. But when I look back now, I don't see ideology. I see fear, the same fear I felt. The difference is that I survived mine. He didn't survive his. There is no version of this story where I become a monster. There is no version where I become a hero either. There is only a frightened 20-year-old man who reacted before thinking, and a frightened 16-year-old boy who didn't get the chance to think at all. I never went back to Germany. I never tried to find out his name. I told myself it would change nothing. Maybe that's true. Maybe knowing his name wouldn't make the nights quieter. But sometimes I wonder if someone, somewhere, still remembers him. If his mother stood at a window long after the war ended. If she waited for footsteps that never came. If she ever received a letter explaining what happened. She didn't, because I never wrote one. I don't tell this story because I'm looking for forgiveness. I don't know if forgiveness belongs in war at all. I tell it because I'm closer to the end of my life than the beginning, and I've learned something about the things we bury. They don't disappear. They wait. They grow quieter, but heavier. And one day, when the world slows down enough, you finally hear them again. I don't know that boy's name, but I know his face. And after 77 years, I can finally say this out loud. He was not my enemy. He was someone's son. And for 1 second in April 1945, our fear met in the same patch of grass. Only one of us walked away.